Check out these amazing space news stories from this week. I hope you enjoy this edit. Don't forget you can catch each of these stories in a daily short on YouTube, and please consider subscribing and sharing this content if you enjoy it. A new comet was spotted a few days ago by amateur astronomers, and it's already delighting backyard observers. The comet was first detected in data from the SWAN instrument on NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory. SWAN's main job is to examine the solar wind, but its data can be used for other purposes, as we can see here. Once detected, other astronomers were able to observe the comet and get more precise details on the orbital characteristics, called an ephemeris. The comet has already brightened considerably, and a tail roughly 2 degrees across the sky can be seen in images from amateur telescopes. It's possible that by the end of the month, the comet will be bright enough to see in binoculars, or possibly even naked eye from a dark site. Currently, the comet's a magnitude of about 8.3, and it would need to get to around 5 or 6 to become visible to the unaided eye. Best time to view the comet right now is low in the morning sky, but there are websites that you can plug in your location and get specific details on where and when to look in the sky. It's great to see that there are still discoveries to be made out there by citizen scientists and amateur astronomers, and I'm hoping that this comet puts on a spectacular show in a few weeks. Did you know April is Citizen Science Month? NASA has a challenge to achieve 1 million acts of science through its multiple citizen science projects. The link for the NASA webpage is on the screen, and you can go there and check out the 33 projects that are available to participate in. There's something for everyone. If you're interested in space and astronomy, projects like exoasteroids or cloud spotting on Mars might be up your alley. Maybe you prefer to get involved with Earth science projects like X-Snow that help scientists measure snow on the ground in the Catskills or Adirondacks region. Globe Observer is a project we've talked about on this channel before that has multiple options to help scientists learn about our planet. Of course, you can get involved in the search for extraterrestrial life or help discover new asteroids and other small solar system objects. I think one of the best ways to learn about science and the scientific process is by participating in it. You get to experience how scientists gather data to test their hypotheses, and if you're lucky, you might even get to make a scientific discovery of your own. And nothing beats that feeling of discovering something new that no human has ever seen before. Head over to the NASA Citizen Science webpage and dig in. Are you ready to see Lunar Outpost's new Eagle moon rover? Well, here it is, complete with polished metallic finish and blue LEDs. The rover has been designed to be used by NASA's Artemis astronauts as they explore the moon and potentially look to establish a permanent presence there. Every feature on the rover has been extensively tested and refined based on feedback from a team of 8 astronauts. The vehicle can be controlled from either of the 2 seats, and an independent motor on each wheel allows the rover to be very maneuverable and to crab walk. Of course, the rover is chock full of high-tech gadgets with multifunction displays that can pull in various camera feeds at different wavelengths and other data, putting it right in front of the astronauts. In addition, the rover features refrigerated sample containers and tool lockers. Eagle will also be capable of autonomous operation either from Earth or a lunar base. Lunar Outpost is competing with Intuitive Machines and Venturi Astrolab to produce the next lunar terrain vehicle for the Artemis program. The plan is to get rovers on the moon around 2030 as part of Artemis 5, and the 3 companies have received around $30 million each to develop their rover concepts. Venturi Astrolab revealed its concept in March, and it'll be super interesting to see what Intuitive Machines' Racer concept ends up looking like. Check out this amazing video of the Perseverance rover's coring drill taking a sample of rock on the Martian surface on March the 10th. Scientists on the rover team are exploring the rim of Jezero crater after the rover spent almost 4 months climbing up the crater wall, getting to the top on December the 12th last year. Since then, Perseverance has taken 5 core samples and analyzed 83 more rocks from the huge variety in an area called Witch Hazel Hill. That pace of sampling is way faster than previous campaigns when scientists were struggling to find enough different kinds of rocks to bother sampling them. NASA says this is because the crater rim contains once molten rocks that were blasted out of the surface of the planet billions of years ago by asteroid impacts, and that has created samples from many different levels below the red planet's surface, potentially including rocks from Jezero crater itself. It hasn't all been plain sailing for the rover. Some early attempts to sample igneous minerals formed from magma deep in Mars's crust failed due to them crumbling and falling apart. After moving to a different area a few hundred feet away, and thanks to some fancy techniques from the rover team, they've now successfully cored and sealed a sample from this kind of rock, which is believed to be full of serpentine minerals formed when large amounts of water react with iron and magnesium-bearing minerals. Perseverance will continue to sample the Witch Hazel Hill area for the near future. It's awesome to see this amazing science being done on the surface of another planet, but of course it'll all be for nothing if we can't come up with a good plan to return the samples to Earth for a full analysis. The Mars Sample Return mission is very much up in the air at the moment. NASA's IMAP mission is at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, ready for thermal vacuum testing that will evaluate the reliability of the mission for operation in space. The Interstellar Mapping and Acceleration Probe will map the solar system by studying the heliosphere, the huge bubble created around the solar system by the solar wind. IMAP will orbit the Sun at the Lagrange L1 point, which is great for its mission, but on the opposite side of Earth to the L2 point, where a lot of space telescopes like JWST sit. These Lagrange points are 5 special points where a small mass can orbit in a constant pattern with 2 larger masses like the Sun and Earth. You can see the 5 points in this image from NASA. Satellites can orbit in these locations and use far less propellant for station keeping than in other orbits, meaning the mission lifetimes can be extended. Currently, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory also sits at L1 as it observes our star. IMAP will carry 10 instruments with it to map the heliosphere and measure the local solar wind, and we've talked about those a little bit before. It will also be able to give almost real-time updates on space weather, including possible incoming auroral activity and solar storms. Thermal testing will include subjecting the spacecraft to big temperature swings, such as those it will experience during launch and deployment, as well as a near vacuum. Because the entire spacecraft has to fit inside the chamber for testing, you can imagine that these thermal vac testing chambers are huge, and the one at Marshall is 20 feet in diameter and 60 feet long. And even at that size, it's only the 5th largest that NASA operates. IMAP is scheduled to launch not earlier than September of this year.